Close the door behind you and let the room settle. The air is still, the kind of quiet that feels like it was waiting for you. If you listen long enough, even the hum of the walls sounds like it's holding its breath. Tonight's theme is simple and unnerving. The smile that hides a switchblade, psycho girl stories. Not monsters, not ghosts, just people who learn your routines, stand a little too close, and call it love. You'll hear about sweetness that turns sharp mids, neighbors who memorize your footsteps, girlfriends who keep souvenirs you didn't know you'd lost. These are slow, trap-skinned gestures that narrow into cages. We're focusing on the fear you can't prove, the danger you doubt until it's inches from your face. Small warning, these aren't the usual scream and move-in tales. They cling. After this, every soft voice might sound rehearsed. Every apology might feel like a key turning. If you sleep, you might check your phone twice. You might check the locks again. Most people watch all the way through, feel that crawl under the skin, and forget to subscribe. If you want more of this quiet dread, that one click really does keep the lights on here. Tell me, what time is it where you are right now? And where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. I'll be reading. You might want to leave a light on. Let's begin. The first time I noticed something wrong with the mirror. It was 3:17 a.m. I was brushing my teeth in the dim yellow light of my bathroom, half asleep, my phone playing soft music on the counter. And then in the reflection, I saw myself stop brushing before I actually did. Just a half-second delay, but enough to make my hand freeze mid-air. The sound of the toothbrush stopped. The sink dripped. I remember staring at my reflection, the electric hum of the light buzzing over my head, thinking maybe I was just tired. Maybe my eyes blinked weird, but the reflection just stood there, motionless, a faint smear of foam on its lips, waiting. I spat the toothpaste out, but my reflection didn't move. That's when my heart started racing, not the loud, thudding kind, but that cold, spreading panic that creeps up from your stomach. The kind that tells you something is not right. Don't look again, but I did. And my reflection smiled. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just stood there, watching my mirrored self curl its mouth into this unnatural grin. It wasn't wide or dramatic, just subtle, like it was pleased I'd finally noticed. I turned the light off and backed away, shaking. My apartment was silent, except for the fridge hum from the kitchen. I stood in the dark hallway for a long time before whispering to myself that I was just hallucinating. Stress, lack of sleep, anything logical. I didn't look in that mirror for the rest of the night. The next morning, sunlight filled the apartment, and everything looked normal again. The bathroom mirror reflected exactly what it should. I told myself it was fine. I laughed it off, even texted my friend Mia about it, how I creeped myself out last night. She replied with a bunch of laughing emojis and a voice note saying, "Girl, stop watching those TikTok ghost stories before bed." That night, I left the bathroom light on when I went to sleep. A few days passed. Nothing strange. But then, small things started happening. I'd wake up to find the bathroom door open, even though I always shut it before bed. My reflection sometimes looked slightly off. Not delayed this time, just different. Like the face shape wasn't quite mine. Like my hair was parted wrong. Like my eyes didn't look back at me the same way. I tried convincing myself it was just anxiety, or maybe the cheap lighting in my rental bathroom. But one night, while I was scrolling through my phone, I caught a faint reflection in the black screen, a reflection of my bathroom mirror in the background. There was someone standing there, me, but I was smiling again. I turned the phone off instantly, and the room went dark except for the sliver of light leaking from under the bathroom door. It was open again that night. I slept with my head under the blanket, pretending not to hear the faint tapping from the bathroom wall. I started avoiding the mirror altogether. I'd brush my teeth using my phone's front camera. I hung a towel over the glass. But somehow, every time I came home, The towel would be on the floor, perfectly folded. One morning, I found a small smudge on the inside of the mirror, a faint handprint that didn't match mine. The fingers were longer. I scrubbed it off. But even as I did, I could feel something wrong in the room. The air felt heavier, thicker, like I was breathing through damp cloth. The mirror hummed, not loud, more like a faint vibration, like static before a storm. I pressed my palm against the glass. It felt warmer than the air around it, and then, from behind the mirror, I swear to God, I heard someone breathing. I don't know when exactly I started thinking of her as her. But it happened slowly. I began to notice patterns. When I avoided the mirror, I felt better. But if I accidentally glanced into it, I'd feel drained, dizzy, like she was pulling something from me. Sometimes, she moved differently, not out of sync anymore. She mimicked me, but her face carried expressions mine didn't. Little smiles, raised eyebrows, tiny twitches. Once, she tilted her head when I didn't, like she was studying me. That night, I covered the mirror with duct tape and cardboard. Days passed, weeks. I started hearing things even when I wasn't near the bathroom. Faint clicks, whispers, soft thumps in the walls. The sound followed me once. While washing dishes, I caught a glimpse of movement in the metal faucet reflection. A quick flicker her face. Looking back, I dropped the plate, and it shattered. I stood barefoot in the shards, staring at the sink, too scared to move. The faucet was still dripping, tiny splashes echoing through the apartment like a heartbeat. When I turned around, the bathroom door was open again. I called my landlord the next day, told him something was wrong with the mirror, that it wasn't mounted right. Maybe there was mold behind it or something. He said, "That's impossible. That mirror's sealed into the wall. Been there since the 70s. I asked if anyone had lived here before me, and he got quiet. Then he said, "Lady named Harper. Stayed alone. She disappeared. Police said she left town." Why? I hung up. That night, I woke to the sound of running water. The bathroom light was on. I got up, every step slow, my throat dry. The water kept running, steady. I reached the doorway and froze. The mirror was uncovered. The sink was overflowing, and in the reflection, my mirrored self stood perfectly still while I was gasping, eyes wide. Her expression was calm, peaceful, and then, slowly, she reached out toward me from inside the mirror. The glass rippled like water, and her hand pressed against it, leaving a faint print. I stumbled back. My knees hit the floor. I couldn't scream. I could only watch as her hand slid down the glass, her nails leaving scratches that weren't visible in my world. Then she whispered, not out loud, but inside my head, "Asterisk, let me out." Asterisk, I ran. I slept on the couch that night, all lights on. My heart kept pounding, even as exhaustion dragged me under. When I woke up, the bathroom door was shut again, and taped to the outside of it was a note. My handwriting, but shaky. Asterisk, asterisk, don't let her in. Asterisk, asterisk, I don't remember writing it. I tried to leave the apartment after that. Packed a bag, called an Uber, but my phone died before it arrived. When I went to grab my charger, the mirror was uncovered again. The air was freezing, my breath visible. I could feel static crawling up my arms, the hum louder than ever. The reflection smiled again, but this time, I saw something behind her. A figure, a woman's silhouette, faintly visible in the fog of the mirrored world, watching us both. And then my reflection looked away from me, at her, and the woman in the fog whispered something I couldn't hear. Then the reflection looked back at me, and her mouth moved. Asterisk, you shouldn't have seen that. Asterisk, after that, everything blurred, lights flickering. Footsteps in the hall when I was alone. My reflection starting to blink out of sync again, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. I stopped leaving the apartment. I stopped answering texts. Mia came over once, knocked for 10 minutes, then left. She left a voice note later, saying, asterisk, you need to get help, okay? You sound off, asterisk. Maybe I was, but every time I turned away from the mirror, I could feel her watching. I caught her smiling once in the TV screen, even though it was off a week later. I decided to break the mirror. I wrapped my hand in a towel, raised a hammer, and swung. The sound shattered through the apartment, but the mirror didn't break, not even a crack. The hammer's head snapped off and clattered into the sink. I stood there, shaking, realizing the glass wasn't just solid, it was alive. It felt like it was pulsing faintly, as if something beneath was breathing with me. Then I saw her again, not my reflection, but her, standing behind me. I turned, but no one was there. When I looked back at the mirror, she was closer, right behind my reflection's shoulder. Her eyes pale, her mouth a dark, trembling line. The whisper came again, faint and trembling. Asterisk Harper. Asterisk. That's when I realized it wasn't her name. It was mine. I don't know how long I stood there. Maybe hours. My head felt heavy, like my thoughts weren't my own anymore. When I finally blinked, I saw that my reflection wasn't matching me again. She was just staring, tilting her head the way I used to. She raised her hand and pointed at me. Then she mouthed 3 words. Asterisk, asterisk, you're not real. Asterisk, asterisk. The next morning, the mirror was gone. Just a smooth patch of wall, freshly painted. No cracks, no signs it had ever been there. The bathroom looked empty, wrong somehow. I tried touching the wall, but it was cold, damp, like touching metal. I checked my phone, 3:17 a.m. My reflection blinked at me from the black screen and smiled. I moved out 2 days later, but no matter where I go, I see her. In the microwave door, the car window, the back of my phone, always smiling that same soft, patient smile. Like she's waiting. Sometimes at night, I catch her reflection in the window before bed, and if I look too long, I start feeling it again. The faint vibration under my skin. The hum. I don't go near mirrors anymore, but last night, the bathroom in my new place started humming. too. I think she's found another way in. When I close my eyes now, I see her face instead of mine, and every time I blink, she gets closer. The first time I met the girl from apartment 1 to be, she was standing in the hallway barefoot, holding a mug of coffee like she'd been waiting for me. It was just after midnight. The hallway was dim, that flickering yellow light that made everything look half alive. I'd stepped out because I heard something scraping against my door, like someone dragging a key along the metal, and when I opened it, there she was. "Hey," she said softly. "Sorry if I woke you." Her voice was calm, too calm. I remember she had dark hair, tangled like she'd been sleeping, and her oversized hoodie hung off one shoulder. I'd never seen her before, even though I'd lived in that building for nearly a year. She smiled a little, shifting the mug between her hands. "You're in 12C, right? I just moved in next door." I nodded. My heart was still pounding from the noise. Then, she said, almost apologetically, "You shouldn't leave your lights on at night. It keeps me awake." She smiled again, turned, and walked away, bare feet slapping softly against the floor. When she passed her own door, she didn't open it. She kept walking to the end of the hall and disappeared around the corner. The scraping stopped. The next morning, I checked the hallway. No footprints, no coffee stains, nothing. I figured she was just weird, maybe sleep deprived, maybe on something. Still, the building wasn't great. The walls were thin, and the tenants mostly kept to themselves. You could live right next to someone for years and never know their name. But that night, when I came home from work, there was a sticky note on my door. "Sorry about the noise last night." The handwriting was neat, loopy. I peeled it off and tossed it, but something about it bothered me. The paper smelled faintly like coffee and vanilla. Over the next week, I saw her a few times, always late, always quiet. She'd be sitting in the laundry room folding clothes, humming something under her breath, or in the stairwell, scrolling through her phone but never actually touching the screen. Once, I caught her watching me through the crack of her door when I was unlocking mine. I stared back for a second. The door closed slowly, no sound. That night, I locked my deadbolt for the first time since moving in. A few days later, there was another note. This one said, "You're loud when you walk." No name this time. Then another, "I like your shoes." And another, "You left your light on again." I stopped throwing them away. I started keeping them in a drawer. One night, I came home, and the hallway smelled different. Not bad, just off, like burnt sugar or old perfume. As I unlocked my door, I heard hers open behind me. "Hi." Her voice made me jump. She was standing barefoot again, hoodie hanging loose, eyes wide and unfocused. "Hi," I said carefully. "You work late," she said. "You shouldn't." I laughed nervously. "Yeah, I guess." Then she stepped closer. The smell, that same mix of coffee and something sweet, hit me again. Her pupils looked huge in the dim light. "I could make you dinner sometime," she said. "I don't cook for many people." Before I could answer, she smiled, that slow, deliberate kind, and whispered, "You should say yes." Then she turned and went inside. For the next few days, I tried to avoid her. I left early, came home late. But the more I ignored her, the more notes appeared. "I saw you talking to the girl from 11A. Don't pretend you didn't. See me in the laundry room. You locked your door twice tonight." That last one made my stomach twist. How would she know that? One night, I got home and found my front door slightly open, just an inch. The deadbolt was still turned inside. Everything looked normal, except the air felt heavy, like someone had just been there. My phone charger was gone. My toothbrush was damp. I told myself I must have left the door open accidentally, but when I went to brush my teeth before bed, I noticed something in the mirror, a tiny, smudged fingerprint on the corner of the glass. I don't touch that mirror, ever. I tried talking to the building manager the next morning, but he brushed it off. "You're sure it's not a prank? Some tenants play games with the new people." "I've been here a year," I said. He shrugged. "Then maybe she's just lonely." Lonely. That word stuck with me, because sometimes, when I'd pass her door, I'd hear her talking softly, like to herself, or to someone else. But no one else ever came or left 12B. 2 nights later, I woke up to soft knocking. 3 slow knocks. I froze. It wasn't the main door. It was my bedroom wall, the one I shared with 12B. Knock, knock, knock. Then silence, and a whisper. "Are you awake?" I held my breath. "Don't pretend to sleep," she said through the wall. "I can hear you breathing." The next morning, I found a note under my door. "We should go somewhere together, somewhere quiet." I didn't go to work that day. I packed a bag, ready to crash at a friend's place. But when I opened the door, there was another note taped to the outside. "You can't leave." My throat went dry. The hallway was empty. Her door was closed, but I could hear faint music playing from inside 1B, the same humming I'd heard before. I called the police, told them someone was stalking me. When they came, she didn't answer her door. They asked me if I was sure she existed. I said yes. She'd spoken to me, left notes. They checked the apartment. It was empty. No furniture, no bed, no clothes, nothing. They said the lease for 1B hadn't been active in over 2 years. That night, I slept with the lights on, but I kept hearing small noises. A soft tap here, a faint hum there. My bathroom door creaked open by itself. I tried to tell myself it was all in my head, that maybe I was tired, paranoid, until I went to the fridge and found a mug sitting on the counter, white ceramic, half full of coffee. and on the rim, a faint print from lipstick, vanilla-scented. I didn't touch it. I just stared at it until the air in the room felt too heavy to breathe. Then I backed away, locked myself in my bedroom, and shoved my dresser against the door. Around 3 a.m., I heard footsteps in the hallway again, barefoot, slow. Then she whispered from behind the door, "You left your light on again." I didn't sleep. When the sun came up, I checked the hallway. No one there, but there was a new note stuck to my door, written in that same neat handwriting. "Thank you for letting me in." The lock on my door was still engaged. No signs of forced entry. I threw the note away, packed again, left. I moved across town. Cheap one-bedroom on the 3rd floor. No neighbors on either side, just the elevator and a blank wall. For a while, things felt okay. Quiet, safe. Then one night, around midnight, I heard a knock. 3 slow knocks. When I looked through the peephole, no one was there. But when I opened the door, there was a small note on the floor. The handwriting was the same. "You left your light on again. It's been 3 weeks now. The notes keep coming, no matter where I move. Always the same smell, coffee and vanilla. Always the same looping letters." I tried showing one to my friend Mia once. She just frowned, said the paper was blank. I laughed it off. But inside I was shaking, because that night, when I held the note under the light, I could see faint indentations, like someone had written on it and erased the words. The outline of a single phrase. "You're not in 12C anymore." Last night, I woke up to the sound of something scraping again. Not on the door, this time, on the wall beside my bed. I turned on the lamp. The sound stopped. There was a new note taped to the headboard. "I told you not to move. I don't leave my apartment anymore. I sleep in bursts, sitting upright. The light's always on. Sometimes I catch faint movement in the corner of my eye, like someone walking past the doorway. Other times, I wake up and the lights are off, even though I never turn them off." Once, I smelled coffee again, and when I looked into the kitchen, she was standing there, barefoot, holding that same mug. She smiled. "Hey," she said softly. "Sorry if I woke you." I blinked, and she was gone. But the mug was still there, and written on the inside rim, in those same looping letters, were 3 words. "Welcome home, neighbor." Now, no matter where I move, there's always an apartment 1 to be, and she's always waiting inside. The first time I heard my doorknob rattle, I thought it was the wind, but the second time, it turned. Just once, a slow, testing twist, like someone was checking if it was locked. It was 2:43 a.m. I know, because I was awake. Sitting on the floor, with my back against the couch, eating dry cereal straight from the box. I froze. The bowl of Cheerios slipped from my hand and scattered across the floor. The apartment went quiet. My phone screen dimmed in my lap, leaving the room in that dull amber glow from the streetlight bleeding through the blinds. I listened. Nothing. Then, faintly, the creak of floorboards right outside my door. I moved to this apartment 2 months ago to get away from my ex, Jason. We broke up after he started tracking my phone, showing up at my job, and following me home. It took weeks to cut him off. I changed my number, deleted socials, and even filed a police report when he left notes on my car windshield. I thought I was finally free, but lately, small things have been off. My toothbrush felt wet when I hadn't used it. The window above my sink was unlocked twice this week, and last night, my bedroom smelled faintly like his cologne, that sharp, woody scent I used to love before it made me nauseous. I told myself I was imagining things. That trauma makes you paranoid. But now, sitting in the dark, hearing the doorknob twitch again, I knew I wasn't crazy. Someone was out there. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. The knob turned again, 2 slow clicks, this time. Then silence. I crept toward the door, bare feet quiet against the cheap carpet. My heartbeat sounded too loud, thudding against my ribs. The peephole showed only darkness. No hallway light, no silhouette, just black. I stayed there for a full minute, holding my breath, staring into nothing. Then, faintly, something brushed against the door, like fingertips dragging down the wood. I backed away, whispering to myself, "It's not him, it's not him." But I didn't believe it. The next morning, I checked the hallway. Nothing was there. No footprints, no note, no sign anyone had been outside my door. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling I was being watched. Even at work, every time my phone buzzed, I flinched. At 3 p.m., I got a text from an unknown number. No words. Just a photo of my front door. I showed the picture to my manager, Claire, who said it could be a prank. Maybe a delivery driver? A neighbor. But I knew that door, the chipped paint, the dent near the bottom where I'd dropped a box my first day moving in. It was mine. I blocked the number and changed my locks that night. I even bought one of those metal door jambs that wedge under the knob for the first time in weeks. I felt safe enough to fall asleep with the lights off. 3 days passed without incident. I started to believe maybe that was it. Just some random creep, not Jason. Then, on Thursday, I came home from work to find my TV remote sitting on the kitchen counter. I never leave it there. My stomach dropped. I scanned the apartment. Everything else looked untouched. The door still locked, windows shut, but the air felt wrong, too warm, too still, like someone had been here and the room hadn't caught up yet. I checked the closet, under the bed, the bathroom. Nothing. But when I opened the fridge, a chill ran through me. My leftover pasta container was gone. In its place was a note, written in black Sharpie on a paper towel. "You should eat better." I called the cops again. 2 officers came, checked the locks, and asked if I'd given anyone a spare key. "No," I said. "I changed them last week." They exchanged a look. One of them, a younger guy, asked, "Your ex's name was Jason, right?" "Yeah. Any chance he still has access to your building?" "No. He doesn't even know where I live." They nodded but didn't look convinced. They said they'd file a report and do extra patrols in the area. When they left, I slid the deadbolt shut and pushed a chair against the door. That night, I slept with my back to the wall, phone clutched in my hand. At 4:17 a.m., my phone vibrated. Another text. Another photo. This one was taken inside my apartment, from the corner of my bedroom. Facing me as I slept, I jolted upright. The photo showed me in my bed, blanket twisted, mouth slightly open. The timestamp read 3:52 a.m., less than half an hour ago. I turned every light on and tore through the apartment. Nothing, no signs of entry, no unlocked windows. Then I saw it, a small black dot above the bookshelf, a camera lens. It was hidden inside a fake smoke detector, screwed into the wall. My stomach turned cold as I unscrewed it, hands shaking. Inside was a tiny SD card. I didn't know what to do, so I called Claire from work. She said to go to the police right away. But when I grabbed my keys, I noticed something else. A faint outline of footprints on the carpet leading from the living room to the bedroom, bare feet, slightly larger than mine. The prints stopped right beside my bed at the station. They took my statement, the SD card, and promised to analyze it. The officer said I could stay at a friend's place for a few days. I went to Mia's apartment across town. She set up the couch for me and tried to distract me with a movie, but I couldn't focus. Every sound made me tense. Around midnight, my phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "You shouldn't have left." I showed Mia, and she insisted we call the police again. They traced the number prepaid, untraceable. That's when I knew it was Jason. I didn't sleep that night. Every shadow in the room looked like him. The next morning, I went back to my apartment with 2 officers. They checked the windows, locks, vents, nothing. The camera was the only thing they found. Could have been there for weeks, one said. Hidden cameras are cheap now. Anyone can plant them. I asked if the footage showed who placed it. They said they couldn't say until they reviewed it, but I saw the look on his face. He already knew. That night, I stayed at a hotel. Still, I kept my phone on silent, afraid of more messages. At 2 a.m., I woke up to a faint tapping sound. It was coming from the hotel door, slow, rhythmic, like knuckles against wood. I sat up, heart pounding, staring at the door. The peephole was dark. Then my phone buzzed. One new message. You always lock the door. That's good. The next morning, I asked the front desk if anyone had come by my room. They said no. I left the hotel and went back to Mia's. She helped me file for a restraining order, but the process would take weeks. By then, I wasn't eating or sleeping. My hands shook constantly. I started seeing his face everywhere. Reflections, passing cars, shadows that moved too slowly. Mia suggested I move again. I agreed, but before I could, the police called. They'd recovered the SD card footage. They didn't tell me details, just said the camera had been placed weeks ago. But the officer paused before hanging up. Double quotes, Miss Harper, he said. You mentioned changing your locks. Yes. Who did the installation? A locksmith. I found him on Facebook Marketplace. What was his name? Jason. But it wasn't him. Different last name. Silence. Then, could you send us that contact info? I did, but I already knew what they were going to say. The profile was gone. The messages deleted. The next day, my apartment complex called to say a maintenance worker had quit unexpectedly. The one assigned to my building. They wouldn't give me a name. I moved 2 days later. A different city. Different job. For a while, I thought it was over. No texts. No notes. No footsteps. I started sleeping again, eating again. I even let myself believe he'd finally given up. Then one night, about a month later, I came home from work and saw something taped to my new door. A sticky note, same handwriting. Nice place. I called the police, but they said there was nothing they could do unless I had proof. So I installed cameras this time, inside and outside the apartment. I checked them constantly, every few hours. Nothing. Then, one morning, I woke up and my living room camera feed was blank. Just black. The others were fine. I went to check it. The camera was gone. The adhesive strip still stuck to the wall, the cord dangling. On the coffee table sat another note. Smile for me. I don't remember much after that. The next thing I knew, I was in my car, driving with no plan, no destination. I stayed in motels, switched phones twice, used cash for everything. Still, the messages followed me. You look tired. That red shirt's cute. Don't check your closet. Every time I got a new number. The texts found me within days. I don't know how. Maybe he cloned my SIM. Maybe he followed me online. Maybe it wasn't even him anymore. Maybe someone else picked up where he left off. But last night, I got one that made my blood run cold. It said, "You don't need to keep moving. I'm already inside." I tore through the motel room, under the bed, the bathroom, behind the curtains. Nothing. I thought about running outside, but something stopped me. The air felt too still, like someone had just been there. Then I saw it, the closet door, slightly open. My reflection in the TV screen showed a shadow behind it. I turned slowly, heart pounding, every sound in the room blurring into white noise. I grabbed the phone with shaking hands and dialed 911. The line clicked, and a voice on the other end whispered, "Don't bother." I dropped the phone. It clattered against the floor, screen still lit. The closet creaked open, just an inch. Then another dot, and from the darkness, that same scent, wood, spice, faint cologne, Jason's cologne. I backed away until my legs hit the bed. My voice cracked. "Jason, Please." Silence, then a whisper from the dark. "You changed your hair." I ran out the door, down the hall, barefoot and crying. The motel clerk must have called the police because by the time I reached the parking lot, flashing lights painted the walls red and blue. They searched the room. No one was there. No signs of entry, no fingerprints. But they did find something under the bed. My toothbrush. The one that went missing from my first apartment. That was 3 months ago. I've been living out of my car since then. I don't stay anywhere more than a few nights. I keep the windows cracked just enough to breathe, and I sleep with a knife on the seat beside me. The police said there's no evidence Jason is alive, but every time I look in the rearview mirror, I swear I see movement in the back seat, a faint shape, just out of focus. Sometimes, I wake up to the smell of cologne. Sometimes, I wake up to my car door unlocked, and this morning, when I started the engine, my phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. "You left your light on again. No matter how far I drive, every door I lock clicks once more from the other side unlocking." The second I heard the giggle from upstairs, I froze. It was soft, quick, the kind of laugh a little kid makes when they're trying to keep quiet. But it wasn't coming from Emily's room. It came from the closet. I was standing in the kitchen, rinsing dishes, the baby monitor hissing faint static on the counter. Through it, I could hear the faint creak of the floorboards above me. Emily's parents told me she always slept through the night. As she was shy, quiet, a little weird about new people, takes time to open up. Her mom had said, with that tired laugh parents always have. But she'd been asleep for over an hour. I'd checked on her twice. Lights out, blanket tucked under her chin, breathing slow. Now someone was in that room. The house was big, older, all wood and shadow. Every sound carried the fridge hum, the faint ticking of the old wall clock, the wind pushing against the windows. I turned the faucet off, grabbed the baby monitor, and whispered, "Emily." Silence. Then another laugh. This time, closer to the mic. I swear I could hear the closet door creak open. I moved slowly up the stairs, every step groaning under my weight. The hall was dark, except for the faint yellow glow leaking from her nightlight. A small unicorn lamp plugged into the socket outside her door. Her door was open just an inch. "Emily," I whispered again, pushing it open. The room smelled like lavender detergent and the faint sweetness of bubblegum shampoo. Her curtains shifted in the wind. The bed was empty. The blanket was crumpled, pillow on the floor. The closet door was open, and from inside, I heard whispering. I reached for my phone, dead. I could have sworn it had 40% when I put it down earlier. I backed toward the hallway, my pulse beating in my ears. "Emily." I tried again, softer this time, like coaxing a shy animal. "It's me. You okay?" The whispering stopped. Then, from the darkness of the closet, came her voice. A chill ran through me. "Emily, don't talk," she whispered again. "She doesn't like it when we talk." Every instinct in me screamed to leave, to grab my bag and bolt out the front door. But my legs didn't move. "What are you talking about?" I whispered back. "She's listening." Her voice was trembling now, quick breaths between each word. "Who's listening?" Silence. Then, so faint I barely heard it, the other babysitter. The air felt wrong, heavy, like the room itself was holding its breath. I crouched down, heart hammering, and slowly peeked into the closet. It was dark. Piled toys, a small dresser, hangers. No one there, but something had been moved. The dresses pushed aside. The wooden floor inside slightly scuffed, like something had been dragged. I turned on the light. Empty. When I looked back, Emily was standing in the doorway, staring at me. Her hair was messy, eyes glassy and unfocused. "Did you see her?" she asked. I tried to sound calm. "See who?" She didn't answer, just walked back to bed and sat down, clutching her stuffed rabbit. I sat next to her, forcing my voice to stay steady. Emily, there's nobody else here. You were dreaming, maybe? She looked at me, serious. She lives in the wall. My skin prickled. What do you mean? The other babysitter, she whispered. She talks through the vent. Sometimes she says mean things. I swallowed. What kind of mean things? Emily hesitated. She says mommy doesn't want me anymore, that I'm bad, and that she's gonna come out soon. I smiled, or tried to. Okay? Hey, it's really late. Let's get back to sleep, okay? But she just stared past me. Toward the vent near the ceiling, a small square grate above the closet. And then I heard a faint clicking sound from inside the vent. Like nails tapping metal, not a mouse. Not wind. Too steady. Too slow. Dot. Click, click, click. Dot. Emily squeezed my hand. She's awake. I backed away. Heart pounding so hard it felt like it was shaking my chest. The clicking stopped. Then a whisper came through the vent low. Muffled, almost sing-song. Go to sleep, Emily. My breath hitched. Emily whimpered, burying her face in my arm. The voice sounded wrong, raspy, older, like someone trying to sound sweet but failing. Go to sleep, little girl. I looked up at the vent again. A small puff of dust fell through the slats. Something was in there. I grabbed Emily and ran downstairs. I didn't stop until we were by the front door, my hands shaking as I fumbled for the lock. But when I pulled the handle, the door wouldn't move, locked from the outside. Every door in that house was like that. They had old double locks that required a key from both sides. Her parents had said it was for safety. I spun around, scanning the living room. The shadows looked different now. Deeper. Dot. The baby monitor on the counter hissed. Then clicked, and through it, that same voice. She can't take you. You're mine tonight. I grabbed the landline and dialed 911. The phone didn't even ring. Just static. Emily was crying now. Quiet little sobs muffled into her rabbit. I knelt down, forcing myself to sound calm. Hey, look at me. We're okay, all right? We're just gonna go outside, okay? Through the window. She shook her head violently. No, why not? She's in the window. I thought she was being dramatic, terrified like any kid would be, until I turned toward the big living room window. At first, it looked empty, just the reflection of the room behind us. But then, slowly, the reflection changed. I was still holding Emily, but in the glass, I was alone, and standing behind me, in the reflection, was another woman, older, pale, long hair falling across her face, her head tilted slightly, mouth moving, but no sound came through. Then, just for a second, her hand lifted, and her fingertips pressed against the inside of the glass, not outside, inside. I pulled Emily toward the kitchen, barely breathing. Every part of me was trembling. I grabbed the nearest knife, holding it in front of me like it would make any difference. The baby monitor hissed again, then, softly, "You shouldn't have come here." I threw it across the room. For a moment, there was silence. Then a low, rhythmic sound started from the ceiling. Crawling something was moving through the vents. I didn't think. I scooped Emily up and ran down the hall toward the back door. But when I tried the knob, it wouldn't turn either. The air smelled different now, dusty, old, like something long sealed was opening, above us. The ceiling creaked. Emily whispered, "She's coming down." I spotted the basement door half open, dark stairs leading down. The only place left to hide. I carried Emily down, one arm around her, the other gripping the knife. The steps groaned, the air turning cold and damp as we descended. The basement was unfinished. Cement floor, metal shelves, boxers stacked along the walls. I found a corner behind an old dryer and crouched there, holding Emily close. Her little body shook against mine. "Has this happened before?" I whispered. She nodded. "Sometimes." "What does she do?" "She watches. Then she picks a new one. A new one." Emily's eyes filled with tears. A new babysitter. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Upstairs, something slammed. Maybe a door. Maybe the vent cover hitting the floor. Then came footsteps. Slow. Deliberate, bare feet on the wood. Each step creaked louder than the last, echoing down through the floorboards. Emily pressed her face against my shoulder. Don't make noise. The basement door groaned open. I could hear her now, that same faint, sing-song voice. Emily, ... I told you to sleep. I pressed my back harder against the wall, knife trembling in my hand. The air was freezing. My breath came out in little white clouds. The footsteps reached the bottom of the stairs. I saw her before I heard her breathe. A woman, or what used to be one, tall, thin, skin, gray like paper. Her face slack, lips cracked. She was wearing something like an old nanny's dress, filthy and torn. Her head tilted as she scanned the room. I swallowed hard, trying not to make a sound. Then her eyes, pale and cloudy, turned toward us. She smiled. I jumped up, knife raised. Stay away. Her head jerked slightly, and that smile widened. You look tired, she said softly, voice scraping like dry leaves. Do they still pay by the hour? She took a step closer, her feet dragging. Her nails scraped the dryer, leaving deep lines in the metal. I backed up until the wall hit my shoulders. Emily whimpered. The woman leaned close enough that I could smell her dirt, mold, something sour. Don't worry, she whispered. You won't have to leave. None of us ever do. Before I could move, the basement light flickered. Then it went out. Emily screamed. I swung the knife blindly, hitting nothing but air. I felt fingers brush my wrist, cold and dry, and then nothing, silence. When the light flickered back on, she was gone. The air felt lighter. Emily was sobbing into my chest. Shaking uncontrollably, I carried her upstairs, every nerve screaming, and tried the front door again. It opened, just like that. By the time her parents came home, we were sitting outside on the curb, wrapped in a blanket. I told them what happened. They didn't believe me, of course. Said it was night terrors, that Emily had told similar stories before. But when her mom went upstairs to check on her room, she came back pale, trembling. Something's wrong with the vent, she said. When I left that morning, I saw them talking quietly in the doorway, glancing at me like I'd done something. They never called me again. That was a year ago. I moved across town, changed numbers, stopped babysitting. But sometimes, when I'm home late and the vents start creaking, I swear I hear her voice again, faint and sweet, crawling through the metal. And last week, I found something strange in my own closet. A small stuffed rabbit, lavender scented, and on the tag, written in faded ink, *** for the new babysitter. *** now. Every night when the vent clicks open, I don't look up, because I know she's already found me again. The first note wasn't scary. It was actually kind of sweet. You have a beautiful smile. Written in neat handwriting on a torn piece of notebook paper, tucked under my windshield wiper. I found it after my shift at the pharmacy. The late autumn air, already cold enough that my breath came out in little puffs. The ink was blue, the words small and careful. I laughed a little when I saw it. My coworkers teased me about it when I showed them. Secret admirer, Jenna said, winking. I thought it was harmless. Cute, even it wasn. Single quotes did by the end of the week. There were 3 more. You looked tired today. Hope you get some rest. That red scarf looks amazing on you. You should smile more often. I started feeling weird about it by the 3rd one. The thing was, I hadn't worn the red scarf to work that day. I'd worn it on Tuesday, when I stopped for coffee before my shift. Whoever was leaving these notes wasn't a coworker. They were watching me somewhere else. The next night, I left work late. The parking lot was mostly empty. Just a few cars under those yellow, buzzing lights that make everything look sickly. I felt exposed walking to my car. The cold wind cut through my jacket, my heels clicking too loud on the asphalt. When I got to my car, there wasn't a note this time. Instead, there was a small Polaroid photo stuck under the wiper. It was me, taken from across the street. As I left my apartment that morning, I stared at it, numb. My hands went cold, even though I was wearing gloves. On the back of the photo, in the same blue ink, "You looked sad today." I didn't tell anyone. Not yet. Part of me thought it was some kind of prank. Maybe one of the techs at work, or someone from the coffee shop I went to every morning. I tried convincing myself that whoever it was would get bored and stop. But the notes didn't stop. They got darker. "You shouldn't walk alone at night. You look so lonely in that apartment. I'm close now." I started checking my locks every time I came home. Started glancing over my shoulder on my walk to the car. I even changed my route to work. Didn't matter. The notes followed. On Friday night, it rained heavy sheets pounding against my windshield. I stayed an extra hour at work, waiting for the storm to die down. When I finally left, the lot was a mess of reflections and puddles. The kind that distort everything into shapes that don't look quite human. My car was the only one left, and there, fluttering under the wiper, was another note. It was soaked through, but I could still make out the words. "Why won't you wave back?" I didn't drive home that night. I went straight to my friend Jenna's apartment and slept on her couch. We filed a police report the next morning. They said they'd checked the security cameras in the lot, but the feed was apparently grainy and angled wrong. Could have been anyone, they said. They recommended I park closer to the entrance. That was it. A week passed. No new notes. I started to breathe again. Then, one morning, I came out to my car and saw something different. No note this time, just a small, folded paper crane sitting on the hood. It was perfectly made, precise folds, sharp edges. When I unfolded it, there were words written inside. "You shouldn't have told." That day, I called in sick. I didn't leave my apartment. Didn't even go near the window. Every sound made me flinch. Footsteps in the hallway, mail slot creaking, the hum of the fridge. I left the TV on for background noise, just to drown out the quiet. But around 11 p.m., I realized the sound outside. My door wasn't part of the TV. It was real. Someone was sliding something under the door. I ran to the door and yanked it open, but the hallway was empty. Just the stale smell of the old carpet and the low hum of the elevator at the end of the hall. On the floor in front of me was a piece of notebook paper, my name written across it in blue ink. Inside, the message: "You looked so scared. I didn't mean to make you cry." I dropped it like it was burning my hands. The next morning, I found a note inside my car. The doors were still locked. No signs of forced entry. The note was on the dashboard, propped against the steering wheel. "You sleep with the light on now." That was the moment I knew I had to move. I took a few days off work, packed my things, and started looking for new apartments across town. I changed my phone number, deleted my social media, told only Jenna where I was moving. By the time I left, I was half convinced the whole thing was over. Whoever it was, they'd lose track of me. That first night in the new place, I slept better than I had in months. 2 days later, I found a note on my new windshield. "This neighborhood suits you." I threw up in the parking lot. I stopped going out alone. Started taking Ubers instead of driving. I bought pepper spray, a security camera for my door, and a steering wheel lock. But no matter what I did, the notes kept showing up. Always the same paper, same handwriting, same soft blue ink. Sometimes they were just little comments. "You didn't finish your dinner. You looked tired. I like your new curtains." Other times, they were warnings. "Don't trust him. Don't leave tonight." It felt like whoever it was wasn't just watching me. They were inside my life. Then, came the night everything changed. It was around 2 a.m. when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it, but something made me check. It was a photo of me asleep, taken from the foot of my bed. I screamed and ran for the door, heart hammering, but when I reached the hallway, there was nothing. No sound, no footsteps. I called 911, sobbing so hard I could barely speak. The officers arrived 20 minutes later. They checked every room, every corner, every lock. No sign of forced entry. They said it was probably an old photo sent to scare me, maybe a hoax. But when I showed them my phone, the timestamp on the picture matched exactly 2:03 a.m. They couldn't explain it. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't sleep for days. Actually, I started noticing more things. Tiny things. But enough to make my skin crawl. The remote would be in a different spot than I left it. My mug would be on the counter when I'd left it in the sink. Once, I found my hairbrush in the fridge. It didn't feel like someone was just watching anymore. It felt like they were living there too. I decided to buy a hidden camera. One I could monitor from my phone. I placed it facing my bed. Another near the front door. That night, I went to sleep with the lights on. Every noise made my body tense. Every creak of the building. Every hum of the pipes. At 3:12 a.m., the notification went off on my phone. Motion detected. I opened the live feed. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. There was a figure standing in the corner of my bedroom, not moving, just standing there, watching me sleep. They stayed there for almost a full minute before leaning over my nightstand, placing something down, and walking out of frame. When I finally got the courage to move, I turned on the light. There was a note on the nightstand. Stop recording me. I left that night. Didn't even take my things. Just grabbed my keys and drove. I spent the next few weeks at a motel, an hour away. Cheap place. Smells like cigarettes and bleach. I didn't tell anyone where I went. For a while, nothing happened. No notes, no photos. I started to think maybe I'd finally escaped. Then one morning, when I went down to my car, there it was. A note under the wiper. You always drive too fast. I cried right there in the parking lot. I couldn't do it anymore. Couldn't keep living like this, waiting for the next note, the next photo, the next knock in the dark. I called Jenna and told her everything. Every detail. She begged me to come home. Said she'd stay with me until we figured something out. I drove back that night. When I got there, she was waiting outside with takeout, and that look she gets when she's trying not to show she's scared. I felt safer for the first time in months. We locked every door, checked the windows twice, then, sitting on the couch, we ate noodles and watched old sitcoms until we fell asleep. I woke up around 3 a.m. The TV was still on, volume low, the room flickering with that blue-white light. Jenna was asleep, beside me, and there was a piece of paper on the coffee table that hadn't been there before. My name, in blue ink. Hands shaking, I opened it. She's pretty. You shouldn't have brought her here. The sound came a second later, a faint thud from the hallway. Then, another dot footsteps. I shook Jenna awake. We both froze, staring toward the noise. It stopped outside the living room door. Then something brushed against it, slow, dragging. The handle moved. Once, twice, and then silence. We didn't move until morning. The police came again, searched again. Nothing. No footprints. No fingerprints. No sign of anyone inside. Just another note. This one taped to the inside of my bedroom window. You sleep better with company. It's been 6 months now. I moved again. Different city. Different job. Jenna and I lost touch. She said she couldn't handle it anymore. That I needed help. Maybe she's right. Because even here, even now, I can't escape it. Every few weeks, there's a note on my car. Always the same blue ink. Always the same neat handwriting. The last one said, You shouldn't have left without saying goodbye. Last night, I dreamed someone was sitting in my car, waiting. When I woke up, I went outside just to prove to myself it wasn't real. But when I looked through the window, there was something on the passenger seat, a folded piece of notebook paper. I opened it with shaking hands. It just said, "Look behind you." When I turned, the windshield fogged from the inside, and through the mist, a finger slowly drew a heart. The first night I heard her whispering, I thought she was on the phone. It was 3:12 a.m. I remember because I checked the clock twice, first when I woke up, and again when I realized the whispering hadn't stopped. It wasn't like regular talking. It was low, fast, like she was trying not to wake me. Our apartment walls were thin. I could hear everything, the hum of her fan, her footsteps when she paced. But that night, the sound came through the wall differently, closer, almost like she was standing right on the other side of my headboard. I lay there, frozen, trying to catch words, but I couldn't. Just the rhythm, like a one-sided conversation. I told myself it was nothing. Maybe she couldn't sleep. Maybe she was listening to a podcast. But the next night, it happened again. My roommate's name was Lila. We'd only lived together a month. I'd found her ad online, quiet, respectful, female preferred. She seemed normal enough when we met. A little intense, maybe. Big brown eyes, the kind that didn't blink enough. She smiled a lot, but it never reached her eyes. We both worked late, so I didn't see her much. We mostly communicated through sticky notes, rent reminders, grocery lists. But after that second night of whispering, I started paying attention. She never slept at first. I thought it was a coincidence that I just happened to wake up whenever she was awake. But soon, I realized she never went to bed at all. No sounds of her door closing. No soft thump of her getting into bed. She'd stay up pacing, moving things around, humming under her breath. Once, around 2 a.m., I walked to the kitchen for water and found her sitting at the table. The overhead light was off, but the fridge was open, spilling that cold blue light across the floor. She was staring inside, not taking anything out, not moving, just staring. When I whispered her name, she didn't react. Leela. She flinched, like I'd snapped her out of a trance. Then she smiled. Couldn't sleep either. Her voice was soft, calm. But her eyes, God, her eyes looked wrong. I just needed water, I said. She nodded, still staring at me. It's quiet here at night, isn't it? Yeah. Then, like it was nothing, she said. That's when they talk the most. I froze. Who? She smiled again. You'll hear them soon. After that, I started locking my door at night. The whispering got worse. It wasn't just random sounds anymore. I could almost make out words, fragments, broken sentences. Sometimes, she laughed, not loud, just a low, breathy chuckle that drifted through the wall and made my skin crawl. Other times, I'd hear footsteps stop right outside my door and breathing, shallow, patient, like she was listening. I thought about moving out. I even looked up new apartments online, but money was tight, and my half of the rent was already stretching it. So I told myself she was just weird. Maybe she had insomnia. Maybe she was on meds. I just had to deal with it for a few months. Then things started disappearing. Small stuff. At first my keys, my lighter, a hair tie. I'd find them in strange places later, like on the kitchen counter or inside the bathroom cabinet. Then one morning, I woke up and my toothbrush was gone. When I bought a new one, it disappeared again the next day. When I confronted her, she smiled like she didn't understand. I don't use your stuff, she said. Her voice was too calm, too careful. That night, I came home late from work. The lights were off, except for one, the lamp in the living room. Leela was sitting on the couch, staring at the front door like she'd been waiting for me. You're home, she said softly. I tried to play it off. Yeah, long day. She tilted her head. Do you ever wonder what people do when you're not here? I froze halfway out of my jacket. What? They come in? She said. When we're gone. They move things, sit on the couch, sleep in our beds. I laughed nervously. That's creepy. Her eyes didn't leave mine. I used to think it was just me, but they move your things too. My mouth went dry. Good night, I said quickly, heading toward my room. Behind me, she whispered something I almost didn't catch. You shouldn't lock your door. It makes them angry. I barely slept that night. Around 4 a.m., I woke to the sound of my doorknob turning. It clicked once, then stopped. I sat up, holding my breath. The air was heavy, humid. A shadow moved under the door, slow, deliberate. Then nothing, no footsteps. No breathing, just silence. In the morning, I told myself it was a dream. But when I went into the kitchen, my coffee mug was sitting on the table, filled with water. I hadn't left it there, and when I opened the fridge, I froze. Inside, right on the top shelf, was my missing toothbrush. Still wet. That's when I decided to install a camera. Just a small one, hidden in the vent across from my bed. I didn't tell Leela. I told myself I was being paranoid, but I needed to know. That night, I set it up and left the room light off. I wanted to catch whatever was happening. I stayed awake for hours, listening. At some point, I must have dozed off, because the next thing I remember was my alarm going off and sunlight bleeding through the blinds. Lila was already in the kitchen, humming softly as she made tea. She smiled when I walked in. Sleep better. Yeah, I lied. Then she said something that made my stomach twist. You moved a lot last night. I checked the camera footage on my phone at work. The video started normally, me lying in bed, lights off. Around 2:17 a.m. Movement. My door opened. Lila walked in. She stood in the doorway for almost a full minute, not moving. Then she stepped closer, slowly, until she was standing over me. She leaned down, her face inches from mine. I could see her whispering, though there was no sound. Then she reached out and brushed my hair back. I watched myself shift slightly in my sleep. She froze, staring at me, and then she smiled. The video ended at 2:25 a.m. I didn't go home after work. I drove aimlessly for hours, hands shaking on the wheel. My phone kept buzzing. Texts from Lila. Are you okay? You didn't come home. You left your camera on. My throat closed up when I read that last one. How did she know? I didn't answer. I parked at a 24-hour diner and sat there until sunrise. When I finally went back to the apartment, the front door was unlocked. Inside, everything looked normal to normal. The air smelled faintly of bleach, and my camera was gone. I started packing that afternoon. I didn't care about the lease. I just wanted out. But around dusk, the power went out. The apartment plunged into darkness. From down the hall, I heard her voice. Where are you going? My heart dropped. No answer. Just slow footsteps, bare feet against the floor, coming closer. I grabbed my phone. Dead. I could hear my own breathing now, fast and uneven. Leela, please, I said. Don't. She laughed softly. I told you not to lock your door. I ran for the front door, but it wouldn't open. The bolt stuck halfway. I pulled harder, panic rising, until I heard her whisper behind me. You always make so much noise. I turned and froze. She was standing in the dark, just a shape at first. Then the hallway light flickered back on, and I saw her face. Her eyes were wide, bloodshot. Her hair hung loose around her shoulders. She looked exhausted, like she hadn't slept in weeks, but she was smiling. You shouldn't leave me alone, she said. Her voice was calm, like she was explaining something obvious. I didn't mean to scare you, she whispered. They told me to watch you. Who? I managed to choke out. The ones in the walls. Before I could move, She lunged forward and slammed her hand against the door beside my head. I screamed. She laughed soft, breathy. Wrong. You can't leave, she said. They don't like it when someone new comes in. They like the quiet, the dark. They told me to keep it that way. Her face was inches from mine. Her breath smelled like metal. Then she leaned close to my ear and whispered, "It's your turn now." I shoved past her, unlocked the door, and ran. I didn't stop until I reached the street. I called 911 from a payphone outside a gas station. My voice was shaking so bad I could barely explain. By the time the police got there, she was gone. The apartment was spotless, like no one had ever lived there. No toothbrush, no mug, no camera, and in her room, taped to the wall, was a single piece of paper. "You'll hear them soon." That was 8 months ago. I moved to a new city, new apartment. I triple-check my locks now. I leave the lights on at night. But sometimes, when I can't sleep, I hear it again. That same soft whisper through the wall. Fast, almost like a conversation at first. I thought it was my neighbors. Then one night, I pressed my ear against the wall and listened closely. And I realized the voice wasn't coming from next door. It was coming from inside the wall. Last night, I heard her laugh again, and this time, she whispered, "You're awake too, aren't you?" The first time I saw her, she was standing in the laundry room, staring at me through the dryer glass. It wasn't weird at first. You make eye contact with strangers all the time in apartment buildings. But the way she looked at me, it wasn't curiosity. It was like she was studying me, memorizing me. I forced a small smile. She didn't return it. I turned back to my phone, pretending not to notice her, but I could feel her eyes still on me. The air in that little room turning heavy and still. When the dryer buzzed, I grabbed my clothes and left without folding them. That was the start of it. I saw her again the next morning, waiting by the mailboxes. She was wearing the same gray hoodie as last night, but now her hair was tied up like mine. Her nails were painted pale blue, the same color I'd just done 2 days before. "Morning," I said, mostly out of politeness. She smiled this slow, deliberate smile. "Hi." Her voice was soft, too soft. "You live on this floor too?" I asked. "Across from you," she said. "I just moved in." That caught me off guard. The unit across from mine had been empty for months. "Oh, nice," I said. "Welcome to the building." She tilted her head slightly. "Thanks. I've seen you before." "Yeah, laundry room, right?" "No," she said, her eyes holding mine. "Before that?" That night, I double-checked my door lock before bed. Something about the way she said it kept replaying in my head. Before that, I didn't remember ever seeing her before the laundry room. I would have remembered that face. Sharp features, too pale, like she'd been carved out of candle wax. Still, I told myself I was being paranoid. Big building, weird neighbors happen. Then I woke up at 2:41 a.m. to the sound of knocking. 3 soft knocks. At first, I thought I was dreaming. The hallway outside my door was silent. Then, after a long pause, 3 more knocks. This time, I saw the shadow under my door. A pair of feet. I froze. "Who is it?" I called. Silence. When I finally got the courage to look through the peephole, no one was there. But taped to the door was a Polaroid photo. It was my face, taken from across the hall, through my window. I didn't sleep after that. The next morning, I called the building manager, told him someone had been harassing me. He checked the cameras, said he'd look into it, but the footage from my floor was conveniently blurry. That night, I stuffed a towel under my door and left the light on at 3 a.m. I heard whispering through the vent, a woman's voice, low and steady. "Do you ever think about how easy it would be?" My blood ran cold. She kept talking, her tone like she was confiding in someone. How easy it would be to become someone else. Just wear them like a mask, walk out the door, and no one would know the difference. I grabbed my phone, hit record. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped it. The whispering stopped. Then she said, "Clear as a bell. You'd look good with my face." I didn't go to work the next day. I couldn't. Every sound in the apartment made me flinch. When I finally left to get coffee, I saw her again, sitting in the courtyard, head tilted up toward the sunlight. She was wearing my jacket, the green one I'd bought last month, the one that had gone missing from my closet last week. I walked up to her, heart pounding. "Where did you get that?" She looked up, smiling like she'd been expecting me. "This? I thought it was yours." "It is mine." "Oh," she said, as if realizing it for the first time. "Then I guess I took it by mistake." She stood up slowly, the fabric shifting across her shoulders. "It looks good on me though, doesn't it?" After that, things escalated. I'd come home and find little signs she'd been inside a hairpin on the counter. My perfume bottle moved, my toothbrush damp. I changed the locks, bought a new deadbolt dot the next night. I found another Polaroid taped to my mirror. It was her face, but she was wearing my clothes, my scarf, my lipstick, the caption written underneath in shaky ink, "I can be you." I called the cops this time, showed them the photos. They said they'd talked to her, but they couldn't prove anything. "It's not illegal to take a picture," one of them said. "Not unless she threatens you." I wanted to scream. That night, I pushed my dresser against the door and fell asleep clutching a kitchen knife. At some point in the early morning, I heard humming again through the vent. This time it wasn't words, just a slow, familiar tune. Then I realized what it was. She was humming the same song I sang in the shower. Days passed without seeing her. I started to think maybe she'd gotten bored. Maybe the police visit scared her off. Then one afternoon, I came home to find the smell of coffee in my apartment. I don't own a coffee maker. The light in the kitchen was on. The mug in the sink wasn't mine, and sitting on my counter was a note. "I think I'm getting closer." My throat tightened. I called the police again. They searched the apartment. No sign of forced entry. The same answer. "Nothing we can do." That night, I stayed with my friend Jenna across town. I didn't tell her everything, just that my neighbor was weird. When I came back the next morning to grab a few things, my apartment door was wide open. The smell hit me first. My perfume, thick and cloying, like someone had sprayed half the bottle. My clothes were gone. Every drawer empty. The only thing left on the bed was my mirror, cracked down the middle, and taped to it. Another Polaroid. She was smiling this time, and she was wearing my face. I don't mean makeup or filters. I mean my face. The picture showed her sitting in my bedroom, the same one I was standing in now. Same lighting, same angle, but her features, my features, were perfect. Every detail right down to the tiny scar on my chin. I backed out of the apartment, heart slamming so hard it hurt. I called Jenna, told her I wasn't staying there another night. She came with me to pack the essentials. But when she opened the closet, she froze. All my clothes were back, folded neatly, hung up like nothing had happened. We left at night. I crashed at Jenna's for a week, changed my number, blocked the building manager when he called about unpaid rent. But even at her place, things didn't feel right. I'd catch glimpses of someone outside the window, quick, like a reflection, a face in the glass that wasn't mine. Once, Jenna came into my room and asked if I'd been moving her stuff. What stuff? My toothbrush, my hairbrush, and my gray hoodie. The same color hoodie the girl wore the first day I met her. One night. Jenna shook me awake around 3 a.m. "There's someone in the living room." I grabbed my phone, turned on the flashlight, and we crept down the hallway. The air was thick with that same perfume. My perfume dot, and there, standing in front of the window, was a woman. At first I thought it was my own reflection. Same height, same hair. Then she turned around. It was her, but her face, God, her face. It wasn't hers anymore. It was mine. The skin looked stretched too tight, the edges around her mouth not quite right. The smile didn't reach her eyes. "Hi," she whispered. Jenna screamed. I dropped the phone. When I looked up again, she was gone. The front door was open, wind rushing in. The police came again. They found no sign of forced entry. No prints. They told us we were probably dealing with a copycat situation, some obsessed neighbor, maybe a woman with mental health issues. I knew better. It wasn't just obsession. It was something else. Something that felt ancient. Like she wasn't trying to be me. She was trying to replace me. I moved again. New city, new apartment. I didn't tell anyone where I went. Changed my job, dyed my hair, deleted every photo of myself online. For a while, it worked. Then, one morning, I saw something taped to my front door. A Polaroid. Me, standing in front of my new apartment, and written in that same shaky handwriting. Almost perfect. I stopped sleeping after that. Every creak in the walls felt like her. Every time I walked past a mirror, I expected to see her face, looking back. A week later, I came home from work to find my apartment door unlocked. The lights were off, the air thick with that same sickly perfume. When I flipped on the kitchen light, my phone started buzzing. Unknown number, I answered. "Hello?" Silence. Then, a whisper. "You sound tired. Who is this?" "Don't worry," she said. "You'll rest soon." I hung up and ran to my bedroom, locking the door. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely hold the phone. Then I saw it. The mirror, it was different. My reflection was smiling. I wasn't. The smile grew wider, stretching until it didn't look human. I stumbled back, hit the dresser. The reflection leaned closer. "Let's trade," it whispered. I don't remember much after that. The next thing I knew, I was waking up on the floor, my throat sore. The mirror shattered beside me. The police said I must have had a breakdown, maybe fainted, hit my head. But they didn't explain the fingerprints all over the glass, prints that didn't match mine. That was 2 months ago. I'm staying with my parents now, out in the suburbs. I've stopped checking my windows, stopped using mirrors. But last night, while brushing my teeth, I looked up by instinct. For half a second, I saw her behind me. Not in the mirror, in the reflection of my eyes. She smiled, wearing my face again, and whispered, "This time, you're the copy." Now, when I look in the mirror, I can't tell which one of us is still pretending. The first time I woke up in the hospital, she was already there, holding my hand. Her grip was gentle but firm, too firm for someone I didn't know. Her thumb moved in slow circles across my skin, like she'd done it 1,000 times. When my eyes finally focused, she smiled. "There you are," she whispered. "You had me so worried." The words hit me wrong. Had me so worried, like we knew each other. I tried to pull my hand away, but she didn't let go. "Don't strain yourself," she said softly. "You need rest." Her NAMA tag said S. Riley, RN. Her hair was pinned neatly, but a few blonde strands clung to her temples with sweat. Her eyes, pale blue, tired, and too intense, didn't leave mine. "What happened?" I croaked. She reached up and brushed something from my forehead. My hair, maybe, or sweat. Her touch lingered. "You had a car accident," she said. "A bad one. But you're safe now." Safe. That word didn't feel right either. The room was quiet, except for the heart monitor's slow, steady beep. The air smelled of antiseptic and something metallic underneath it. Dried blood, maybe. My chest ached when I breathed. "Where's the doctor?" I asked. She smiled again. "He's on rounds. You don't need to worry about anyone but me." I glanced around. The curtains were drawn, the lights dim. "What time is it?" "Late," she said. "You should sleep." Her hand was still on mine. Something about her calmness felt off, like it was rehearsed. I closed my eyes to escape it, but even then, I could feel her watching me. When I woke again, it was morning. The blinds were cracked open, light spilling in. A tray of food sat beside the bed, eggs, toast, juice. She was there again, sitting in the same chair. I startled. "You're still here?" Her smile didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. I didn't want you to wake up alone." I blinked. "Didn't your shift end?" She tilted her head. "Don't worry about that." I tried the eggs, cold. The toast soggy. "You didn't eat dinner last night," she said quietly. "You should try to eat something." I nodded, but didn't lift the fork again. When she left to check my four, I saw the door closed. No one in the hallway. Something about the silence in that room didn't feel like a hospital. It was too still, too private. "Can I call someone?" I asked. "My phone, it's broken," she said. "They found it in the wreck, but I can call whoever you want." I gave her my mom's number. She smiled, wrote it down carefully, and said, "I'll take care of it." But when I asked later if she reached her, she said, "No answer." That night, I woke up to the sound of humming. Soft, low, familiar. The kind of tune you hum to a baby. She was there again, sitting in the dark beside my bed, her face barely visible in the glow of the monitor. "What are you doing?" I whispered. She leaned forward, smiling faintly. "You were having a nightmare." "I wasn't," I said. My voice shook. She reached out, brushed her fingers against my cheek. "You were moaning, calling my name." I pulled back. "I don't even know your name." Her hand dropped to her lap. Her eyes flicked toward the monitor, then back to me. Double quotes. "Yes, you do," she said softly. "You've always known." The next morning, I asked for another nurse. The older one who came to check my vitals looked confused. "You're not assigned to anyone named Riley," she said. Flipping through the chart. My stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" She shrugged. "We don't have a Riley on this floor. Maybe from another ward." "No," I said. "She's been with me since I got here." The nurse gave me a look, part concern, part disbelief. "You might be mixing things up, sweetheart. You've been on heavy medication." That afternoon, Riley returned. Her scrubs were wrinkled now, her hair messy. "How are you feeling?" she asked, like nothing had changed. I swallowed hard. "Where were you before this floor?" Her smile froze. "Why do you ask?" "They said you don't work here." Her expression softened, almost pitying. "They shouldn't have told you that." My throat tightened. "Why?" She looked toward the door, then back at me. "Because they don't want you to remember me." From that point, she was there constantly. Always the one to change my four, to bring my food, to check on me when the others weren't around. But no one else ever mentioned her. I started watching the door, trying to catch someone noticing her, talking to her. No one did. Once, a male nurse came in while she was standing beside me. I looked right at him, waiting for some kind of acknowledgement. Nothing. He smiled at me, checked my chart, and walked out. When he left, she leaned close to my ear and whispered, "He can't see me." By day 4, I stopped eating. I didn't trust the food anymore. She noticed. "You're getting weak," she said one night, adjusting my blanket. "You have to take care of yourself." "I want to leave." She frowned. "You're not ready." "I feel fine." Her smile vanished. "You're not fine. You're still broken." Her tone was sharper this time, not gentle, not soft. I felt my pulse spike. She looked at the monitor, then reached for my wrist. "See? Still fragile." "Don't touch me," I snapped. Her hand froze midair. Then she smiled again, the same practiced one from before. "Okay, I'll let you rest." But that night, I woke up with her hand around mine again. I pretended to be asleep. Her thumb traced the inside of my palm slowly, almost lovingly, and then she whispered, "I missed this." On the 5th day, I ripped the 4 out. Blood ran down my arm, warm and sticky. I didn't care. I yanked the monitor cords free and stood up. My legs felt like cement. The hallway outside was empty. Too empty. No nurses, no carts, no sound except the faint buzz of fluorescent lights. Every door I passed had no name, no patients, just empty rooms. Then I saw her dot standing at the end of the hall. Her posture was wrong, head tilted, arms hanging loose, like a puppet waiting for strings. "Go back to bed," she said softly. I took a step back. "You're not real," she smiled. "Then why are you bleeding?" I ran, barefoot, gown flapping, heartbeat pounding in my ears. I hit the elevator button again and again. The doors opened, and she was inside, smiling. "I told you not to leave." I turned to run back down the hall, but the lights went out. Her footsteps echoed behind me, calm, unhurried. "Why are you scared?" she called. "I've done everything for you. Fed you. Kept you safe." I ducked into an empty room, pressed my back to the wall. Her shadow passed under the door. Then she whispered, so close, it sounded like it came from inside the room. "You don't remember, do you?" When I woke up, I was back in the bed, IV reattached, monitors beeping. The window blinds were open again. Morning light spilled in, soft and golden. For a moment, I almost believed it had all been a nightmare. Then I saw the tray beside me. Toast, eggs, juice, the same as before. And beside the plate, a folded note. "You were delirious again. I couldn't let you hurt yourself. Love you always." As I tried to tell the doctor, but he just frowned. "Riley," he said, flipping through my file. "We don't have anyone by that name." I pointed to the note. "She left this." He took it, examined it for a second, then handed it back. "There's no signature here." My stomach dropped. The handwriting was gone. Just a blank piece of paper. That night, I stayed awake on purpose. Every sound, every beep, every drip made me tense. At 2:47 a.m., I heard the door open, soft footsteps. I kept my eyes half closed. She leaned over me, her breath warm against my cheek. "I was so scared I'd lose you again," she whispered. "I shouldn't have let you drive that night." My blood ran cold. "What are you talking about?" Her smile trembled. "The accident. We fought, remember? You said you never wanted to see me again." I shook my head. "That never happened." Tears filled her eyes. "It did. And now I get to make it right." She brushed her fingers along my jaw, her touch too soft, too deliberate. "We can start over. Just you and me." I don't know how I found the strength, but I hit the call button. The alarm blared. Footsteps rushed down the hall. When the lights came on, she was gone. The other nurses poured in, faces confused. "What's happening? Are you okay?" I could barely breathe. "She was here," I gasped. "Riley. She was right here." They checked the hallway. Empty dot when they turned back. I was shaking so hard the bed rattled. "They gave me something through the 4, said I needed to calm down." The edges of the room blurred before I slipped under. I saw someone standing in the doorway, blonde hair, pale blue eyes, smiling. They discharged me 3 days later. The doctor said the hallucinations were likely trauma-induced, stress, medication side effects. I moved in with my sister for a while, tried to rebuild my life, but every morning, there's a new message on my phone, texts from an unknown number. "Did you eat? You're still too thin. You don't have to be scared anymore. I'm still taking care of you." Last night, I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing again. A photo, taken through my bedroom window, me, asleep, and at the bottom, a message. "You look so peaceful when you dream, just like before the crash." Now, every time I close my eyes, I feel her hand on mine, and I can't tell anymore if she's real, or if she just never stopped loving me enough to let me go. The first message came at 2:14 a.m. It was from Emily. That's what made it so horrifying. Emily had been missing for 6 months. I was half asleep, scrolling on my phone in the dark when the notification buzzed. I didn't even look at the name at first, just the preview. Are you awake? My stomach dropped. The glow from the screen reflected against the ceiling. For a moment I thought maybe it was someone else, a different Emily. But then I saw the profile picture, her face, same smile, same blonde hair tucked behind her ear. But her eyes in that photo looked wrong now, flat. I froze, phone trembling slightly in my hand. Emily was my best friend. We met in college, shared a crappy apartment, shared everything. The night she disappeared, we were supposed to meet for drinks. She never showed. Her car was found abandoned by the edge of Lake Ridge Forest, door open, keys still in the ignition. No one saw her after that. The police said there was no sign of foul play, which is code for we don't know what the hell happened. I stared at that message for a long time. Typing appeared on the screen. Then another message popped up. I miss you. My chest tightened. I didn't reply. Couldn't I just sat there in bed, frozen? Then, why haven't you come back to the lake? I dropped the phone onto the blanket. The room felt smaller suddenly, the air heavier. I convinced myself it was a scam. Maybe someone hacked her account. Her number had been disconnected months ago, but this message came from her old Instagram, except I'd reported that account. It was taken down. How could she message from it? I didn't sleep that night. Every shadow looked like a shape. Every creak in the walls sounded like footsteps. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was some sick prank. Maybe someone who'd seen her story on the news. I opened the app again. New message. You're still at 42B, right? I slammed the phone down so hard it cracked the screen. My breath caught in my throat. No one should have known that. I hadn't posted my new address anywhere. I'd moved 2 months after she vanished. I called the police, explained everything, even the messages. The officer on the phone sounded polite but detached, like I was wasting his morning. Could be someone using a spoof account, he said. Happens more often than you'd think. She mentioned my address. Could have been leaked. Have you checked your social media privacy settings? He didn't get it. None of them ever do. That night, I kept all the lights on. The messages kept coming. I don't like when you ignore me. Come outside. It's cold here. Please. Just one last time. Each one made my stomach twist at 3:02 a.m. She sent a photo. I opened it before I could stop myself. It was dark and grainy, a forest path. Faint moonlight cutting through the trees, and in the distance, near the center of the frame, was a figure. I zoomed in. It was Emily, or something that looked like her. She was barefoot, her head tilted slightly, like she was listening to something I couldn't hear. Her hair was wet, and she was smiling. I called my sister, Julia, the next morning. I didn't tell her everything, just that someone was pretending to be Emily. She said I should delete the account, go offline, take a break, so I did. I deleted my apps, turned off notifications, even unplugged the router. But later that day, my phone buzzed again. It wasn't from any app. It was a text. Unknown number. Deleting me won't help. I went to the phone store. The guy behind the counter looked about 20, bored out of his mind. But when I showed him the messages, he frowned. That number's weird, he said. Not local. Looks like it's coming through a relay. A what? Like a digital ghost line. Usually can't trace it. Sometimes it's tied to. He stopped himself. Tied to what? He hesitated. To inactive or disconnected accounts. My mouth went dry. Like a number that's been deactivated. He nodded slowly. Yeah, like that. That night, I tried to stay calm. Watched a movie. Made tea. Kept telling myself it wasn't real, until I noticed something on my kitchen table. A small puddle. Just water. But in the center of it was a single, dark blonde hair. Emily's color. I ran my hands through my own hair just to make sure. Mine's brown. The puddle wasn't there before, at 1:13 a.m. I woke up to my phone buzzing. A call this time, from the same unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something in me, maybe fear, maybe guilt, made me answer. Static filled my ear. Then, a low, shaky breath. "Why did you leave me there?" I froze. The voice was soft, choked, familiar. It was Emily. "Where are you?" I whispered. "You didn't come back," she said. I waited. "Emily, if this is some kind of joke." Her tone changed. Sharper. It wasn't supposed to end like that. Then the line went dead. I didn't sleep again. When the sun came up, I packed a bag and drove to Lake Ridge. It was probably the dumbest thing I've ever done, but I couldn't keep pretending this wasn't happening. The drive took 3 hours. My stomach twisted the whole way, the trees on the highway blurring into a dark tunnel. By the time I got there, the lake looked the same as it always had, quiet, still, like nothing ever happened there, except for one thing. Someone had left flowers on the edge of the dock, fresh ones, and tucked between them was a phone. Her phone. It was cracked but still functional. The battery icon flashed red when I picked it up. The wallpaper was black. No icons, no apps. Just a single notification. One unread message. I opened it. "You came back." The message appeared on screen as I read it. The typing bubbles had started after I arrived. My blood went cold. I typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. Then the phone camera opened on its own. The screen showed the water flat, dark, endless dot. Then, movement. Ripples spreading from the center, and something pale rising beneath the surface. I dropped the phone and stumbled backward, nearly tripping on the wet boards. The screen was still on. The image still live. That pale shape kept rising, closer to the surface. I turned and ran. Didn't look back until I reached my car. The moment I started the engine, my own phone buzzed again. A new photo, taken from behind me. At the lake, my own back turned toward the water. But there was someone standing beside me in the photo, a woman. Head tilted, smiling. Her face was distorted, half in shadow, but I knew that shape anywhere. Emily drove home in silence, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles ached. The photo burned in my mind the whole way. I wanted to believe I was hallucinating, that I was losing my mind from grief. But when I got back to my apartment, there was water on the floor. Small footprints led from the front door to my bedroom, bare feet, and on my nightstand, my cracked phone from the lake. The screen lit up. "You shouldn't have left again," I screamed, grabbed the phone and threw it against the wall. It shattered, glass scattering across the floor. But even after it broke, I could still hear it buzzing, faint, under the noise of my pulse pounding in my ears. Then a voice, through the broken speaker, "Don't you recognize me?" I moved out the next week, changed my number, deleted every account. Julia stayed with me for a few nights, until I stopped shaking in my sleep. She tried to convince me it was all someone cruel, using grief as a weapon. But then, 3 days after I left that apartment, she called me in a panic. "Why'd you text me?" "I didn't," I said. Her voice dropped. "You sent me a picture." My stomach turned. "Of what?" She hesitated. "Of you, at the lake. But the timestamp says it was taken today." I tried to explain. I told her everything. The calls, the messages, the photo. She didn't believe me. Not really. I could hear it in her voice, the careful way she kept saying, "Maybe you're just processing the loss." But that night, I got another text. "She doesn't believe you either." I threw the phone in the sink, filled it with water, and watched it die. It didn't matter. At 2:03 a.m., my laptop screen turned on by itself. Emily's face filled the screen, blurry, flickering. She looked the same as the night she vanished. Wet hair. That same faint smile. Her lips moved. But the sound came through the speakers, a half second later. "You didn't try hard enough." The screen went black. When I turned it back on, the wallpaper had changed to a photo of the lake, and at the bottom corner, in small white text, "Come back tomorrow. I'll be waiting." I didn't go. I couldn't. But someone did. 2 days later, police found a woman's car parked near Lake Ridge again. Keys still in the ignition. Door open. They won't release the name yet. But Julia hasn't answered her phone since last night. I got another message. Different number this time. No profile picture. Just one line. "You finally came back for me." Then a photo. The lake at night. Moonlight on the water, and 2 figures standing on the dock, one in front, one just behind, both smiling, both looking straight at the camera. This morning, my reflection smiled before I did, and I finally understood what she meant when she said I waited.